So we are live.
Welcome to session number 1. It's called Connect. This is for our hackathon. You can check out the hackathon at developer.symbl.ai/hackathon. I'm going to post that in the comments. I am here with Kansha Bashin.
Hi everyone, I am Akanksha Vasim, a community evangelist at Symbl.ai. I welcome you all for the Hackathon Ideation Session 1 with the theme Connect. So connect your apps and automate voice-enabled workflows. So today we will envision about integrations, extensions, automations that you can build with Symbl.ai's conversation intelligence platform. Would love to know from which part of the world you have joined in. So do mention it in the comments. So we have so many people joined in. Hi Sirkit. Hi Shivam. Hi Srija. Hi Vicky. Hi Bhargav. Hi Dwapan. So, and the second big announcement which we have is, so those who have joined our stream for the first time, do check out Integrate to Disrupt Hackathon by Symbl.ai. It's a 2-month virtual hackathon. The registrations are still open. You can definitely check it out. We also have lots of cool prizes worth $5,000, contest, giveaways, and happy hours too. So stay tuned for more details, and we will drop all the details in the chat section. Okay, so we have Balaji. Hi, Eric and Akanksha. We have people joined in from Hyderabad. We have folks from USA also. Nice. We have Arunachalam from India. We have Survi from Seattle. Hi, Survi. So she is our CEO. Okay, so
Oh, whoa. We have Serbi in the chat too.
yes.
Claire Frolesh. What's up, Claire? Purvank, secret person from Indonesia.
Yeah.
Hey, Bhavani Chandra.
Okay, so we have now folks joined in from different uh, areas across the globe. So let's get started. Now I pass on the mic to Eric to take the session forward.
Thank you so much, Akanksha. We've also got someone from Ontario. My name is Eric Giannini. I'm the lead developer advocate and evangelist at Symbl.ai. If you want to connect with me, here's my LinkedIn. I like LinkedIn because LinkedIn is a really professional channel for connecting. Everyone has their personal preferences. This is Akansha, who's on the call with us. She's our community advocate. She is helping us set up all of these events. So I'm really thankful for her to be taking part. Thank you so much, Akansha.
My pleasure.
Wonderful. Oh, cool. We've even got Symbl.ai in the stream. How amazing. Okay, cool. So just to refresh everyone's memory, we're here today to help you come up with ideas for the Integrate to Disrupt hackathon that Symbl.ai has released. Before we get started today, we're going to do a brief review of what we covered in the Symbl.ai 101 course. If you haven't had a chance to pick up the latest version of our Postman workspace or public workspace, please go ahead and do that right now. Kansha is going to drop a link into the chat where you can download the Postman app. After you've done those things, we're going to log into the Symbl account, open up the Postman app, and we're going to authenticate. Okay, just a second here. Okay, so Cool. I've got my credentials loaded in here on platform.Symbl.ai. We're going to move through this part really quickly. So if you were here on the Symbl.ai 101 call, you would have seen that we covered the API playground, where you're able to simulate the processing of text. We'll do that in the Postman refresher part of this event. These are the key pieces of credentials that you need to pick up: the app ID and the app secret. I have them loaded already into Postman, so I'm going to go straight over to Postman. I'm going to head over to the authenticate token and take a look at the body. I've set up environment variables. You can do that over here when you press the I. It's a really interesting feature that Postman has. I want to take a second, however, to ask everyone whether they can see this screen. I can do a little bit more enlarging before the windows pan out. I think that's about the max for what I can do in terms of maximization on this app. Does everyone see that well? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay. So as I was saying, you could load your app ID and your app secret here. And then you load those variables into this payload, app ID and app secret. And you send button, you get your token. We're here because we're going to come back to it to do a deep dive into what we can log with the action items from a WebSocket. So briefly, I just want to show you guys an async call. So we have a body with a payload. This is a simple hello world example just to get you up and running. If you missed a refresher course or you wanted to do a small review of our async API, our API is structured with HTTPS. First part is API. The second is Symbl.ai /version1 process text. You go over here and you configure a payload. Here we've configured the hello world payload, and you press send. The response comes down below, right, with the conversation ID. If I want to check to make sure that that message was sent, I go over to conversation APIs and I go to get messages or transcripts, and I drop the conversation ID into the area of the API endpoint where the conversation ID is received. I'm going to uncheck these messages because I don't want to do verbose logging or sentiments. You can do that when you are creating your submission. Perfect. Okay, so the async API's hello world example works. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about the ideation aspect of what we're trying to present today. I want to go over to the Hackathon website. I know that everyone is like, instructions. I don't want to read a manual. Oh, there's, too long, didn't read. But it's really important, not just for us, but for what you can do with Symbl.ai, to take a look at the details that we provided of the hackathon. If you've read through the details, what I'm going to say is probably going to be review, but it's still really good for us to talk about it because it'll start off the ideation process that we'll go into in a little bit. Essentially, what we're trying to do is we're trying to inspire developers to develop around our APIs. One of the things that we are planning for developers to seek out for ideas in their submissions is experiences around conversations. Excuse me. We have grouped the idea of building experiences around conversations or with conversations or in conversations. And I mean like the conversations that are happening right now in real time. On this stream or in a call or wherever there's raw audio or raw video. So any human conversation. Essentially, we have grouped the idea of building new experiences around conversations with Symbl.ai into 3 succinct themes. So we think that there is a way to talk about conversations from the perspective of connecting, visualizing, and transforming conversations. So I'm going to go ahead and go through each one of those parts. So with Symbl.ai, you can process video, voice, or text messaging, stream the analytics and the outcomes of your day-to-day conversations to any kind of third-party SaaS. You can connect Symbl.ai to another third-party SaaS. And there are ways to connect Symbl.ai. When you saw earlier while I was going over Postman, you saw that our APIs deliver sentiments. So you could sift through the data on a sentiment API response, and you could catch a polarity score, and you could pass that polarity score through a connection to some other third-party application. Like you could put that polarity score in a Google Sheet, and you could have one column for the polarity scores, and you could have rows for the times, and you could map that type of connection into a time series where you have the rise and the fall of the polarity scores over time. You could do that in a pivot table, or you could take your data from connecting Symbl.ai to a Google Sheets directly into a data science environment where you are fetching observations through Python, and then you're displaying those observations with the matplotlib library. So although we started out talking about how that's merely a connection, it's also like a pathway towards doing other things like visualizing, right? Or transforming the conversation. When we take the polarity scores and we pass them over to the Google Sheets, we are transforming the conversation into a different manifold. And with that manifold, you can go back and you can visualize. So it's our understanding of conversations and our understanding of the ideation process around building submissions for successful hacks with the Integrate to Disrupt hackathon that you can think about experiences around the conversation through these simplified themes, right? It's going to be one or more of these types of integrations. And that's why we're saying integrate to disrupt. And we want to say that the hackathon is designed to disrupt because there's no company that I know of to date that has built a product that maps sentiments directly to a Google Sheet and then produces time series and analyzes those time series as part of like, a call center or what have you. And there are a number of other APIs, for instance, like the Jira API or the Slack API, or Slack is a little bit more obvious, or Zapier, but Jira. With Symbl.ai, you have a connector, and one of those connectors is the analytics that you get from the conversation. So Symbl.ai provides you with the ability to fetch action items directly out of a conversation. So once you fetch action items directly out of a conversation, you can pass those action items over to Jira, where Jira creates task-based tickets, so that while you're talking to someone in a conversation that's enabled with Symbl.ai and has done a connection through Jira, you're able to create a brand new experience around those conversations that it fully automates the workflow through that connector, right? And I call it a connector because you grab it and you pass it, right? You grab it and you connect it over to something else and you pass the data through it. So that is basically like a brief overview from like a high level. So I want to go back to the Websocket. So one of the ways that you can add Symbl.ai to a conversation to enable the conversation is through Symbl.ai's streaming API. If you go back over to Postman and you look at the source types that we have, right? We have a source type for async and telephony, but Symbl.ai also has a streaming API. We have set up the streaming API on Postman's WebSocket integration, but Postman's WebSocket integration doesn't work yet with collections. So we would have to show you through a different desktop agent offered by Postman how the WebSocket works through Postman. To avoid having to do that, we're going to go ahead and show you how to run the WebSocket directly in the browser. And we will show you how to grab a hold of what I had called earlier as like a connector, right? This result of a conversation, an action item. So I want to take you over to the docs. And this is an example that everyone can do. You don't have to do extensive coding to get up and running with the WebSocket. You can try this out in your Chrome browser right now as we're streaming live. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pass over the link to that doc. And I'm going to give everyone a chance to make it over to this page. Great. Symbl.ai has added that to our docs. Sorry, not added it to our docs. Symbl.ai has added the link to the docs in the private chat. So just to give you a bit of context before we begin to talk more about the WebSocket, there's an introduction to WebSockets if you're unfamiliar, and then there's a tutorial, and inside of the tutorial is live speech to text and AI insights on the browser. And essentially, this is our most accurate way to deliver automated speech recognition, and from there, the ability to capture action items, follow-ups, or questions. Symbl.ai automates the process of capturing those insights in real time. And I want to go over how to set this up now so that you can capture action items in real time too. As we had mentioned earlier, I had left the token inside of Postman. I'll grab that later. And what we'll do is we'll load it over here. We create, 3 constants. The Symbl.ai API endpoint, api.symbl.ai, but with WSS // as the front piece of the API endpoint. And then we load into the API endpoint the access token. This can be any unique identifier, so we're using a sample email. And the first step is to create the WebSocket, and we do that by creating an instance with the JavaScript syntax that is available through its own API library. And then here's the crucial part, is that we set up listeners. Once you have an instance of the WebSocket running through Symbl.ai's API endpoint, you can set up event listeners so that those event listeners listen to the analytics that come about from the course of the conversation in real time. And the one event listener that we will configure to provide us a log of action items is the onMessage function. So it's ws.onMessage, and it is an event-driven API endpoint. So you have inside of here multiple if statements. It would be in these if statements that you would configure extensive application logic to trigger third-party post requests or what have you. But you have here message response, topic response, and insight response. These are pieces of information that come from Symbl.ai for free. And over here, we will focus on capturing action items. You start the WebSocket connection with this function. This is the onOpen function. And then you grab the browser's microphone to create an audio stream. And you do that through accessing the navigator. And then once that is done, you handle the audio stream, which is done through here. And if you wanted to, you can load this code into the console to stop the WebSocket. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to scroll down to the bottom to get the full code sample. And we're going to press the copy button. We're going to copy that. And then we're going to head over to the browser that we have here. And we're going to go ahead and press Option Command J. And that will pull up the console. And I'm going to do Command V. And I'm going to drop this code snippet directly into the console. And then I'm going to head over here to Postman. And I'm going to grab my API key that I created earlier. And then I'm going to head back over to the console. I'm going to drop it in the area with the 2 quotation marks. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to run. Oh, sorry, I'm not going to run it yet. I want to go back over here to the onMessage function. And I want to highlight this area, right? Oops. Oh, I accidentally ran it. I'm sorry. I'm going to go ahead and stop it and clear it out. Okay, so let me do that one more time. Cool. Oops. Go back. I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to copy it. Then I'm going to drop it in. I'm going to drop in the access token. And then I'm going to run it. Now, in the first run, we're going to take a look at some of the message responses. In the second run, we're going to go ahead and we're going to configure the log to detect whether or not we are finding an action item. So I'm going to enter into the live stream some training data. So please complete action item. Please complete action item. Please complete action item. So, as you can see here, the function that we had mentioned earlier for response data inside of the onMessage method for the WebSocket detected an insight, and it has logged the insight. Well, we want to go a little bit deeper, and we want to capture action items. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop this really quick. And I'm going to open that console up one more time. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the code from a blog that I wrote on dev.to. So we're going to go ahead and drop in this blog from dev.to. Oh, looks like someone has said Sampath Caro Moody said, this is so cool, API. Oh, it looks like we may have lost Akansha. It looks like it might have been an internet issue. I'm going to go ahead and give Akansha a second to hop back on. Okay.
Yeah, I'm there on the backstage.
Oh, okay. Okay, so in that blog, I have sample code towards the end of the blog with the action items set up to be logged directly in the console. So I'm going to go back over to the console by pressing Option Command J, and I'm going to drop that code in that I took from the bottom of the blog. As you can see over here, what I put inside of the WebSocket is again a little bit of code. And if you see right here, insight.type, if insight.type equals action item, we're going to log insight detected is an action item. Okay, so I'm going to go back over here to Postman, and I'm going to grab the API key again. I'm going to go over to the console, and I'm going to load that back in, and I'm going to press the WebSocket to start streaming. Let me see here. Perfect. Okay. So while I'm talking, I'm going to go ahead and put into the transcript some training data to simulate this with the greatest speed. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, please complete action item. 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 And soon the WebSocket will identify that as an insight type, and it will log the message that we mentioned earlier. Let me see if we've already logged it here. Okay, I'm going to please complete the action item. Okay, great. So what I've got right here is exactly what we were looking for. The Symbl.ai detected in insight type. Insight types are questions, follow-ups, or action items. Inside of our log, we wanted to see whether or not this was an action item. So we set up an if-else statement with just the if part. And the if part check to see whether or not the insight.type is an action item. And so we have successfully logged an action item. This is the type of setup that you would configure to trigger third-party software as a service applications to create an experience beyond a conversation. So these are precisely the types of data that I had mentioned earlier you would use to create an automation through a post request or through a third-party API provider to automate the process of creating Jira tickets directly from a conversation. Okay, so having said that, and having shown you both the WebSocket as well as the ability to log action items, I also want to show you that just as you can do the same thing with action items, you could also do the same thing with topics. Topics are one of the other analytics that we run on conversations. The topics API loops through conversations and it picks up topics. These are the most discussed aspects of a conversation, and you could automate a summary process with topics. And I'm going to see here. Yes, perfect. Okay, so if you look here in the console, our logging functions have come up with a data from the topics, complete action item, training data, message setup, and action items. Those are all topics that we discussed today on the stream. So you could set up a third-party SaaS to interact with these bits of analytics just as well as you could with the action items. And the same goes for questions and follow-ups. And for the more advanced, we also have a Node.js SDK. The Node.js SDK is also enabled through Symbl.ai's SDK. And you can do the same thing that you're doing now with the Websocket, with the Node.js a setup. You can log action items, questions, or follow-ups, no problem. Okay, so having said that, and having shown you what we do with the analytics and how to log them, and we want to open up the session now to ideas. So we want to hear from some of the members on the stream what their ideas are in light of what we've shown you and what your potential submission ideas might be.
And we also have one question by Srija. Could you please share sentiments as well?
Yes.
So we want to know more about it.
Okay, that's a great question. Thank you so much for asking that, Srija. So the way that I'm going to do this is through the setup that I have right now. The setup that I have right now is a WebSocket running in the console with the browser mic. But I can grab the conversation ID. With the conversation ID, I can go back to Symbl.ai in Postman to submit a request through Postman to fetch the sentiments on all the messages that were relayed through the conversation associated with conversation ID. So I'm scrolling up right now, and I'm trying to get to the top because at the top, I had logged the conversation ID, and you see it over here. So I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to head over to Postman. I'm going to head over to Postman, and I'm going to go ahead and go to the conversation API. As you saw earlier, for those of you who were on the stream from the start, I had checked verbose and sentiment. I'm going to load the conversation ID in first, right? And then I'm going to check sentiment. I'm not going to check verbose. Some of you may want to check verbose if you want to get into a granular level of data. Right now, we just want to look at polarity scores. So Srija, thumbs up, thumbs down if you're still with us. Are you still with us? Are you ready to see what sentiments we were able to log on the messages from the WebSocket? Okay. Okay, perfect. Wonderful. Thank you, Srija. I just want to make sure that you're still able to follow along. I'm going to go ahead and press send. And then down here at the bottom, we're going to see the sentiments come out. We're going to drop that one. That one's not so these are sentiments that are happening on messages. And you can see down here, here's a sentiment. And then it'll do a suggestion for neutral. It makes sense that these messages that I was delivering during the WebSocket are neutral. You can imagine that if we were to have a different conversation where I was a customer service agent and you were a customer, that the conversation might be different if, for instance, you were experiencing a decline in your Wi-Fi, your subscription-based Wi-Fi's performance, and you wanted to reach out to support, and you said, "My Wi-Fi is bad." Symbl.ai Sentiment Analysis API would pick up on you saying that your Wi-Fi was bad, and it would evaluate that message to a polarity score that would derive the suggestion in the form of some type of negativity, right? Or it would result in like a negative response. So that is basically, some of the polarities that you can pick up from our API endpoint. And again, you can pass through the data to get directly to the score. In another session that will happen after the Connect session, where we talk about visualization, we have a sample application that interprets the polarity scores so that they are resurfaced as emojis. That is one way to visualize. If you go back to the 3 themes that we mentioned for disruption through integration, that is one way to visualize sentiment analysis. And you're more than free to take that idea and to reformat it into your own submission or what have you. Okay, so now after having shown both the action items and how to log them and fetch them, we want, and also sentiment analysis, we want to open up the floor to hear what ideas you guys have about creating experiences around conversations.
Yeah, so we have another question from Saurabh. So how Symbl integrated with different public cloud vendors? So basically they want to know more about the cloud integrations with Symbl.
I don't know the answer to that question. I'm not sure I understand. Could you tell us some more, Sareb, Mishra?
Yeah, maybe you could elaborate more on this.
What do you mean by cloud vendors?
And we have one question from Dwapan Sen. Really cool stuff. Can we have more minutes to our account to research on this for audition? Yes, we are giving you 3,000 minutes for those who sign up for the whole hackathon. And if in case you want to upgrade and you want more minutes for your project, you can definitely reach out to us on the Slack channel.
Oh, okay. He's talking about AWS, Google Cloud, Azure. I'm still not clear exactly what you mean, Sarab. The way that we integrate Symbl.ai is through an integration where Symbl.ai is added to a call. Like you could add Symbl.ai to a Zoom call. Or for instance, and this is also really cool, you could also add Symbl.ai to a stream. And one way to do that is to go to the GitHub Symbl.ai and take a look at one of our repos. We recently created an integration for streaming. It looks like that repo is private, so I'm not going to mention it by name. But you can actually enable Symbl.ai over StreamYard, no problem. Okay, we have a question by Balaji. Can you please explain how the webhook will work in identifying the status of the audio to the async audio API? I think that Balaji means the job status ID. And that's not something that I have used extensively. And we should have, let me see here. Yes. Okay. So we have an API endpoint for checking the jobs, and you go and let's say, for instance, you uploaded that text and you got this job ID down here at the bottom, right? We'll fetch that and we'll go over here and check the status of the job. Send that and, completed. So I hope that answers your question. If not, please reach out to us in the Slack. It looks like there's also some internal team collaboration occurring. We highly recommend that you guys reach out to each other during the stream to create teams for submissions to the hackathon. It looks like someone by the name of Shivam Gupta asked Serab if he could join their team. We also want people to ask questions about what they think they can create around Symbl.ai in terms of integrating to disrupt. Are there any questions about the ideas that you might come up with to create submissions? Great. So it looks like we have a couple people who are preparing to give us give us some of their thoughts on the ideas that they want to run for the hackathon. And Akansha has just shared the resources. Oh, okay. So it looks like someone has just mentioned, I recognize Asif Khan from our Slack channel. He said audio-based NFT platform, non-fungible token platform using blockchain. Sounds like an awesome idea. What do you think, Akansha?
Yes, definitely. Like I've been to hackathons like ETH India. So I observed like people really build cool stuff on blockchain. Like some of them had like real time streaming. Like let's say we are streaming for 24 hours and they want to make it more secure and private. So a lot of people were having these ideas on this. So I think it's good.
Okay. Oh, fantastic. Okay, so we've got more people asking questions. There's a fellow by the name of Laxmi Sarki. And
Lakshmi.
Say it again, Akansha.
Lakshmi.
Oh, Lakshmi Sharkey. Automation of minutes of meeting during Teams Zoom call. That sounds like a really interesting idea. It sounds like he means that he wants to put some kind of live feeding feature that shows you the okay, by minutes he might mean like what people decided during the course of the call. Yeah, you could definitely do something like that. You could create, here's a list of topics, here's a list of action items, questions, or follow-ups, and here's a post-meeting summary. That's one of the automatic ways in which to integrate with Symbl.ai. It's not necessarily, from what I can tell now, a real-time example, but you could certainly make something like that real-time. Okay, so Srija's saying in the ideation phase, what should be submitted? And for the second phase, what should be submitted? I think it might be a good idea to talk a little bit about the structure of Hacker Earth. I guess I took it for granted that people who come to the Hacker Earth Hackathon are familiar with the Hacker Earth process. The Hacker Earth process is a two-part process. Let me go back to this page right here. The two-part process is, and we're going to probably wrap up the stream here in the next 5 to 10 minutes, is first an ideation phase, during which time you create an idea for your submission. that you check with the administrators at Hacker Earth as well as us for approval. And then you have the second phase, which is the build phase, where you're actually implementing the idea that you came up with through the ideation phase. It's a two-part hackathon. If you were a member or a participant of a previous hackathon with DevPost, you wouldn't have experienced that type of structure. With Hacker Earth, you do. And we think that that's a great way to structure hackathons because Hacker Earth specializes in virtual hackathons. With the onset of the COVID-19 crisis, we've come up with this process to help facilitate the remote aspect of this hackathon. Okay, so that's a little overview about the ideation and project build phases. Let me see here.
Yeah. And for the ideation phase, we don't need much inputs from you. We just need maybe a simple slide deck where you tell us about what you are building. So just a brief overview of your idea and what tech stack would you be using, and maybe some business analytics around it. So just the general things, a pitch deck. And we will also be sharing a reference pitch deck in your email as well so that you could look into it. And for second phase, we need like a proper project where you share it in a public GitHub repo and one video demonstrating what you built and how you built, what challenges you faced, and what's the outcome, what problem you are solving. So that's all about it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hey, Shabazz, Han. Okay, so use sentiment analysis during customer service call to adjust the tone of the service agent. You could definitely come up with a real-time configuration through connecting Symbl.ai with some third-party software that requires the service agent to adjust his or her tone of voice. You could definitely do that, Sampath. And we're going to throw in a link right now to our Slack channel so you can follow up with us on some of these ideas. We want to make sure that you guys have ideas for your submissions.
Yeah. And Sampath, if you want to upgrade, like you want to get more minutes, you can definitely reach out to in our support channel or maybe DM me. So we will get it like renewed. And we also have one question from Asif. Do we get the polarity score as the output for the audio API?
I'm not seeing that question. So repeat that one. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's on the screen.
Okay, I see that. Do we get the polarity score as the output for the audio API? That's a good question. Let me go ahead and answer that from the top down. So in terms of the audio, video, or text APIs, those generate conversation IDs. Once you have a conversation ID, you can go back to the conversation API where you can upload the conversation ID into the messages API with the messages API's query parameter for polarities or sentiments set to true. You can fetch the sentiments for something that you uploaded through the audio API. I'll show you right now. Oops. Okay, so you're talking about something like this, right? Once you upload an audio through this API endpoint, I don't have sample data here right now. You will get in the response data a conversation ID, and you run that conversation ID down to the messages API endpoint, and you drop it in here. After you've dropped in the conversation ID, you set the sentiment to true, and the sentiment set to true will deliver the polarity scores on that API, on that conversation ID. So it's a two-step process. That was Asif Khan's question. Did that answer your question, Asif? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, and for getting 3,000 minutes, I'm posting the link. So there's a promo code attached to it. Platform.symbl.ai sign up promo equal to hackathon. So if you sign up from a new ID, you will get 3,000 minutes automatically.
So we're gonna wait a minute or two before the before ending the stream. In the meantime, we want you guys to post your questions here. We want you to join the Slack channel, download Postman, make an API call. Okay, so Shabazz is asking a really great question. He's asking, can we make use of MVT framework and other open sources while making the project? Yes, you definitely can. Akansha had posted earlier into the comments section the YouTube link. Sorry, not the YouTube link, the GitHub link to the sample applications that we have available on the website. I'm going to briefly go to that right now. So here's the GitHub repo with a bunch of different open source applications. I think it might be a good idea for us to give you a high level overview. The first is that we've recently open sourced our documentation. If you find something in the documentation that you'd like to update, please put in a pull request. Also, we have added a Twilio inbound flex adapter. We have a sample application for meeting summary UI. We have a Chime adapter so that you can get up and running with Symbl.ai over Chime. And we also have a bunch of getting started examples. We didn't have time today, but apart from topics or the insight types such as action items, questions, or follow-ups, we also have trackers. Trackers are ways of tracking conversation data in real time. You can track that data by creating sets of vocabulary, and those sets of vocabulary are checked against the messages that are occurring in real time. If you have application logic, you can set it so that it will be triggered when a specific member of that set of vocabulary is heard in a conversation. The same way that our logs were able to trigger, the console log call when the stream had detected action items. Inside of this repo, the getting starting repo, we have a bunch of different SDK examples. We also have a Symbl-powered Agora real-time engagement application. Agora released a real-time engagement app builder, and the real-time engagement app builder is a low to no code solution for people who want to get up and running with Symbl.ai. If you could use this repository as the basis for building out some extension to the conversation that occurs in the real-time engagement application that you build with this setup, you could easily add your integration part for this hackathon through this sample application. We have it for Zoom. We also have an example for real-time sentiment analysis if you wanted to create a web app that logs the sentiments in real time from a conversation without having to go back to the conversation API to pull them from the messages API. And we have a lot of other sample applications. So those are some of the things that you can use as the basis for your project. So I want to give about 1 or 2 more minutes for questions before we wrap up the stream. I think we ran like well over time. Great. It looks like there's some discussion of minutes. Akansha had dropped into the stream.
Yeah, we will get it renewed in case you run out of the minutes. Those who haven't got 3,000 minutes. And other alternative is you could try signing up with a new email ID. So we have some lovely comments. Thank you so much, Asif. We have Shabs. We have Rajkumar. Great to know. Thank you so much. It means a lot to us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And thank you so much for being a fantastic audience. If you want to dig deeper, refer our docs. And if you feel stuck, just join our Slack channel and ask your doubts on the support channel.
I also want to mention that our next event will happen on the 17th of this month. In that event, we are going to show you how, after logging action items, you can directly create or automate the creation of Jira tickets through Symbl.ai's action items. It's a real-time action item automated voice-enabled workflow example. So that will be on the 17th of June.
And don't forget to tweet about your experience using the hashtag Symbl.ai. And you can tag us on our Twitter channel like SymbolDev and Symbl.ai as well. We have one question from Saurabh. Are we also getting swags from this webinar? So we will soon be launching a giveaway. So that would be like a question answer round on Twitter. So we have some cool swags for this. Thanks.
Great.
Thank you so much, Swag.
Yeah, wonderful. Just to conclude, during the course of this webinar, our live streaming event, we discussed what Symbl.ai is. We discussed how to get started with Symbl.ai. We did an overview of the API endpoints. We hit some endpoints. We talked about the conversation API and how we can get insight types. And we also talked about the streaming API and action items, logging them, and what to do next with them. We had a Q&A session, and now we are planning to close up the session. So if you have any lingering questions, please feel free to join us in the Slack ASAP. We'll be happy to answer those. In the meantime, we're looking forward to meeting up with you guys in the next session.